Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me at Music Today. This is Keitaro Harada. The concept of the show is to bring in an artist each episode and have a conversation with the artist about a performance we will all watch and listen together. The live component is very important because I encourage the viewers to comment and ask questions to the artist. The idea for this show came about when COVID-19 hit, and I wanted a platform to keep the music going for our fans. Even though we may not be able to experience live performances together, I wanted a place where music lovers can join easily to converse with the artist and to see the more personal side of us. Music Today is a bilingual show. The live streams during your evening or afternoon will be in English, and the shows that broadcast during your morning time will be in Japanese for the fans in Japan. If you want to improve on your Japanese skills, you're more than welcome to watch the Japanese interviews too. You can use the subtitle button out down here after the broadcast ends. Today's show is a little bit out of the ordinary at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard because it worked better for a wonderful guest who is joining us from Spain. 3 p.m. means it's 4 a.m. in here in Tokyo right now, but it doesn't matter because I never go to bed. Without further ado, I'd like to bring in our guest for tonight. Since we cannot hear you applaud, please do me a huge favor and use the comment screen at the bottom or onto the side, depending on if you're on Facebook or YouTube, and put clapping emojis, or you could write clap, 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 so that we know that you're there and you're excited for the show. Please welcome Maestro José Luis Gomez.
Hello.
Hey, hello, José. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Where are you quarantining right now?
Yeah, well, right now I'm in the Canary Islands, in the island of Tenerife. That's part of Spain. And it's
Fantastic.
8 p.m., so it's not 4 a.m. for you, which is my problem.
Well, it's totally fine, and I'm so glad that we get a chance to chit chat together. For our viewers, the common denominator Jose and I have is Tucson, and the one problem that we've always had is that we've been friends on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we always comment on each other's things, but we've actually never met.
Yes, we haven't. And I think the last time you guest conducted the TSO, I think it was last season. It was just 1 week before I was. It was 1 week before I was coming back, and yeah, it's like we're always, almost trying to meet, but it's finally nice to see you
digitally. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I really cherish the friendship that we have online. We talk about life, we talk about music, we talk about airplanes, and we comment on each other's Instagram about traveling. But you never need two conductors in one city and at one time. So it's just the life of the conductor. We never get to see each other.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You don't want to have two conductors in the same place.
Exactly. Exactly.
One is enough. Sometimes not even one.
Exactly. Well, before we get started with the music, I wanted to recognize some hellos. We have Invi Callan from the University of Arizona saying hello. Giovanni is also saying hello. My mentor, Tom, who's on a Zoom call, so he can't watch, but that's okay. We have Irene saying hello from Tucson. The Tucson Symphony is also here watching us and supporting us. And we have a hello from Romania.
Oh, yes.
And then another hello from Japan, a business partner of mine, a collaborator, Nori, who we do tons of concerts together. So thank you all for joining. And let's start with Giovanni. Tell us about this music.
Well, Mozart, it's that composer that it's so universally well known, of course, because of all the great music that he wrote, that is also very familiar to even non-music lovers. It's just something that is there. You know that you heard something, that it's Mozart, and then you immediately recognize it. Well, one thing that I think is also very obvious for Mozart are the operas. He's definitely an opera composer. I mean,
yes.
His catalog is huge. He has concertos, he has chamber music, symphonies. But the operas, you could tell that that's where he feels, I think I would say the operas and the piano concertos are the best Mozart of Mozart, in the sense of you can see the actual composer happening at his best. And I think it translates to all the other works, that when you hear other music by Mozart, then immediately you think about opera, because it's like using music to tell a story, to define characters. So when you look at the operas that he has many, I think the 3 operas from the Da Ponte librettos are the ones that are maybe the best, the more compelling. And Don Giovanni, one of my favorites. I'm sure for many other people too, maybe for you too, because it has a very interesting and powerful message. It's apart from it's a Spanish story, obviously, originally by Tirso de Molina, but the way that Da Ponte makes it work, it's incredible, because already the libretto, because Da Ponte thought of giving it to Mozart, knew that he needed a composer that was so good into matching the music with the words so perfectly that you cannot tell what came first. Is it the word, the music? And that's what I think that Don Giovanni is. It's a miracle of this marriage of words and music. And for any conductor, have the chance to conduct a complete run of Don Giovanni, it's always a must. You want to have that in your repertoire. You wanna get the chance to not only do the bits and there, but just to do the whole thing, to understand how well done is that cohesiveness of the story.
Which ending do you like?
I like the Prague version. The Prague version that has the epilogue at the end, that has moral, which is because if you end with that D minor chord, thinking that he goes to hell and that's it, then it's not a drama giocoso anymore, which is
true.
Interesting. A drama giocoso, so I have a joking drama. So it's like it's in incoherence there, but it's like that, because that's the message is life goes on. It's just like, and the people who are the people who behave badly, they go to hell. But then so the question that you're gonna ask yourself after a Don Giovanni is like, there is a little bit of Don Giovanni in all of us, a little bit.
Yes,
there is this conflict of of the pleasure, but of being of having the freedom to do whatever you want, but can you actually do whatever you want? Well, he's teasing you with this message. So that's why I like that ending, because it just wraps up and it ends with a fantastic, kind of a canon, little fugue at the end, which is great, because Mozart is always, giving a little bit of a wink to the past, which is amazing,
I love that ending, but it's interesting because I've done Giovanni several times in the US, and I've never done that ending in the US.
Interesting.
Like it always ends. It always ends dark. And just there's beauty to that too. However,
it's true. Dramatism. It's very dramatic, that D minor ending and ending in kind of a turmoil. But it's interesting that he wrote this opera. To make the long story short, outside from Vienna, he wrote it in Prague. That's why the original version is the Prague version, because Nozze di Figaro, the Marriage of Figaro, the one before, was so unsuccessful in Vienna that his friends and everybody's like, you get out of there, you won't do it there. And actually, then when he brought to Vienna the version of Don Giovanni, he added the other arias and so on. So there is a Vienna version. But originally, it was, so you could tell that it's an opera that is compressed in time. It's also compressed in orchestration, because the Theater Prague is very small. So there is it's not a huge theater like other theaters especially in Vienna, which is not huge, but compared to, it's a very small theater. So everything was different from Mozart. This was an opera that he was actually doing in a very, very different way, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, let's take a little listen to a performance from you. Where is this?
Yes, this is actually at the end of a run of Don Giovanni that we did organized at the Teatro Sociale di Como, where I was music director. And this is in Reggio Emilia, in Italy. Beautiful theater, beautiful theater. Yeah, that was actually not the last, the one before the last that it was recorded. And it's, when you conduct in places in Italy, you feel like it takes you back to a different time, definitely. You cannot see that because it's the pit, but the theater actually is very beautiful.
What was the first Mozart opera you've ever conducted?
Marriage of Figaro.
Oh, me too.
You too? Yeah. And it's incredible to me. That's why I said the three Da Ponte's opera, Così, Marriage, and Don Giovanni are perfect. I would say maybe musically compelling, in a compelling form. It's amazing. It's not perfect. Maybe dramaturgic-wise, it's a little bit more complicated to put it together. But the music is so perfect in Così. And then the next one for me will be maybe Marriage of Figaro. And the best of all the bits and things is Don Giovanni. So anyway, if you touch Mozart's opera through Marriage of Figaro, I think it gives you that, willingness to say, oh, wow, this is great. So you start to digging into more stuff.
Yes. Thank you. That was wonderful. Oh no, why is I'm having a little bit of... My computer is being a little bit... Sorry for the connection. A little pause. Maybe my computer doesn't like me because it's at 4 a.m. Oh, there we go. We're back. Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful performance. And what's wonderful about the Mozart opera is that when we, as conductors, when we do the Mozart opera, when we understand the language and how the vocal texture is on the music, it allows our symphonies and our piano concertos to sound differently. I feel that when I conduct the symphony, after I conduct an opera, I always conduct the symphony so much better, or any of the smaller pieces. Do you find the melody writing and the symphonies come out even better when you do opera of Mozart?
Absolutely. I mean, Mozart is like we were saying at the beginning of the conversation. You immediately notice this opera treatment in everything he wrote. There is always a phrase that is telling you something. You hear a melody, played by the piano, but you can imagine a soprano singing something, or a duet, in between instruments. You can see the characters, in the instrumental music, and that's, I think that happens with Mozart, especially in than any other composer of his time. It's not the classical period that defines Mozart. I think it's the opera defines Mozart better than anything else.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, before we continue with some of the questions I have for you today, more hellos from many friends. Our dear old John Palmer. Hi, John. Thanks for coming in, and hope you're safe from the fire. And then we have Yuko Tanaka, conductor. Yuko, who
I remember.
Besançon and Schulte competition. Yeah, wonderful. She's doing a fantastic job in Paris and also in Japan right now. And then we have more hellos from our colleague from your orchestra. Hi, Win. And then Alana, thank you for watching. And someone loves the Prague version, just like you.
One more Prague fan.
Yeah, we've got 2 Pragues for now. So tell us a little bit about your experience from the El Sistema program.
Yes. Well, it was for the whole world has been like a boom, the whole thing about the impact that El Sistema has in the musical world, especially that it's being applied by many other countries and successfully. I think for all of us who grew up with it, it was a great experience of learning music together. One of the things that I always cherish about the time being in the youth orchestra, and starting at the very early age in my region, youth orchestra, part of El Sistema, was the fact that you wanted to learn to play the violin in the conservatoire, and you're getting your craft done, but you had immediately a greater input the moment that you sat down with other kids playing together. So the orchestra playing created that willingness to explore new worlds, to get better, to see, hey, this music thing is not about just practicing and becoming the next Jascha Heifetz, which everybody wants to be, but it's more about, oh wow, orchestral music is so powerful. And the moment that you're on stage, if you start to experience these things, at an early age, it gives you a lot of amazing things, such dignity or pride, of a pride of group, not an individual pride, but a group pride, and that's something that music empowers, in a very beautiful way. I think for all of us has been a very enriching, experience to go through that. I think being exposed to orchestral music from the very beginning, it's something very, very important.
I've always wondered about the system program, how instruments are chosen. Like, do you have a preference, and do you express that and it gets chosen, or do the teachers choose the instrument for you?
Well, they show you the instrument, but even as a kid, it wasn't my case, but I've seen in other colleagues that you show a little bit of interest or curiosity into certain instruments. Sometimes when you don't know what to do, then they will put you in something that maybe is needed the most, or maybe adapts better. But I always think that the kids, for as little as they are, they can tell you more than you think. They know, they have intuition, and especially through music, you could tell that a kid is able to physically, get into some kind of instrument route, like maybe strings, woodwinds, or something like that. So, and singing maybe is the most important thing for any kid from the very beginning. Start singing, and then you will get to the instrument eventually.
If I recall correctly, your father is a professional flute player, right?
Yes, he is.
Did he encourage you to play flute, or was he happy with you playing the violin?
Well, I have a brother that plays the violin too.
Okay.
That the story was really, there is no other explanation that him coming back when I'm 5. My brother I was 4. My brother was 5, and he came with 2 violins and said, "Go practice." That's it.
Okay, it was very simple.
Players. Well, he always thought also, he always liked the violin. I think at the end, he doesn't. But who doesn't like violinists at the end?
Right.
But it was more about giving an instrument also that has, at the end of the day, more options, in the sense of the repertoire. You're playing an orchestra, there is a lot of violin, so you get a chance already to feel that group thing. I think it was coming from the flute part of being too much on itself, that it said, okay, I want them to do more, something a little bit bigger than just being on their own. So but he came with 2 violins, and that was it. So,
well, you had a choice.
At the beginning, I thought it was a very uncomfortable instrument. But
it is an uncomfortable instrument. There's nothing comfortable about this.
Exactly. Because
for a little child, there's nothing comfortable about the violin for a child.
But once you start doing something, and then it's not yourself only, that you're not alone. So in that case, with my brother, and my brother was immediately, getting into it. I was like, okay, he's doing it. I need to also maybe try as well. And because I said, I play the piano, I'll play cello. And my father said, okay, let's give him a little bit more time. He didn't change the instrument. He already knew that I needed to play the violin. So I said, let's give him time. And watching my brother and seeing, I said, okay, it was fun. So
when did the conductor bug come in? So when did you know that yes, I want to pursue a career in conducting?
Yeah, that's a funny story too. As I was a kid, and I was the master of my youth orchestra in Maracaibo, of the one of the conductor, and he was telling me, you will play this piece, blah blah blah, solo, but I would like you to conduct something like an overture before. And I was 11 years old. I was like, why? Because then you conduct and then you play. I think it would be fun. And I didn't see the fun in the conducting. I said, my father again, he says, well, and so he put me and gave me a little bit of this and that, and I did it just because I wanted to play. But I think my orchestral career gave me always that extra curiosity. My father had a lot of scores, so I always had them, and I kind of always had my ears into listening more than just being in the orchestra. I mean, there's many ways you can be in an orchestra, and there are very valid ways you can be a member of an orchestra, as long as you are part of the whole energy. But also, it's an opportunity for you to start, thinking and digging into. I like how things work. Or I like how things changes from one conductor to another. These mechanics, and it was later on during my career here in Europe that it was actually another friend that told me that he saw that I had scores, that I was curious about this thing, and he said, would you like to try it, maybe conducting? I said, well, I did it, and as a kid I think it was boring, but maybe I'll give it a try. And it was another friend conductor, who a Chinese friend conductor, that told me, well, I'll give you some lessons and I'll prepare you. And I said, there is a competition, I'll go for it. I'll put myself in the most stressful situation. I see what happens, and then I won.
It's amazing. It's a great story.
Of course, you had in your mind that you wanted to. I mean, gladly also being a member of a professional symphony orchestra. There is many conductors that come by, and you have the best. At the end of the day, for any young conductor, the best experience is to look these other people conducting and seeing what they do, all these mechanisms, talking to them, asking for advice, and I think all of it at the end, was inside of my body, and kind of emerged in a very spontaneous way. But also, I was very lucky. By the time I won the competition in Frankfurt, that Frankfurt Radio created a position. Thanks to Pablo Jarvis, their music director, in the day, input a position of an assistant conductor that they never had, and it was basically created for me. And so that for me was the decisive point also of my career, not only because you have a prize and then you have all of these things happening, but because I had a mentor, and that also very well, that when you have a good mentor, or someone that, and in that case Pablo was fantastic for that. He was overlooking everything. He was also he taught me many of the other things that I didn't know, because conducting cannot be only a spontaneous thing. There is a lot of technical aspects, there is a physical predisposition, but once you have someone that tells you exactly what to do, or how to make things happen with your hands, especially, and then you're in the good way. And the orchestra was very supportive also, and that too. You have an orchestra that supports you, that wants you to succeed. These are relationships that stay for long, and I have so many friends in Frankfurt Radio that we always. I know that's another family that I have there.
Yeah. Well, and then to have Pablo as a mentor at the early stages of your career is the perfect person to have, because he can really, he's one of the most beautiful technician when it comes to the hands, and his the way his ears work is just amazing. I've always admired his music making, and he's doing such great things with NHK, but also where I recently was with Cincinnati. He really created the sound there, and just the culture of orchestral playing, the European style orchestral playing there. And I also love hanging out with his father too, Neme.
Yeah, amazing conductor. Yeah,
and just an amazing human being too, when it comes to music making. So
yeah, absolutely. And that tradition that they carry, and in the case of Pavo Järvi, coming from his father, that has, the tradition of music making, regardless of, doing the Dvorak 9 for the 10th, for the 100th time. They always find something new, but also finding new repertoire. And this is something that I also was really lucky to experience with Pavo. To get yourself into that repertoire that you don't know. Your job is to learn music, all the Scandinavians, all the everything should be there. When you look at Nemes, his father, his discography, he has almost everything.
The most number of CDs recorded. It's amazing.
I was once, I had an engagement, and I had to conduct a Glazunov Symphony No. 4. And I told Pablo back in the day and say, I'm conducting Symphony No. 4 by Glazunov, which I didn't know, in Weimar. And he says, my father has fantastic
record. Of course.
He has all the symphonies. I was like, and they're fantastic recordings. So that's also great, that you inherit in his case, this love for music that is beyond any kind of cliches of repertoire. You gotta get yourself there and learn and learn and learn.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we transition to the next conversation, we've got hellos from New York. And then from LA, Victoria Fatu, wonderful pianist. And aloha from Joanne, and then Yale is saying hello, wonderful cellist. Speaking of family, I want to of course talk about your other musical family, which is Tucson Symphony. And for me, really, the Tucson Symphony is a musical family for myself, because they took me under their wings when I was still in school at University of Arizona, and they trusted me with so many different projects over the last 12 years that I've worked with the Tucson Symphony Orchestra. And I just want to ask to tell me what the TSO means to you.
Well, the Tucson Symphony Orchestra, it means many, many, many things, and all of them are fantastic. It's family. It's an orchestra that we are shaping together, that we are growing. It's an orchestra that I think one of the things that I loved about the Tucson Symphony is from day one, I knew that it's an orchestra that wanted to grow. You can have many steps in your career in which will take you to different kinds of orchestras, and maybe once you will get to an orchestra that it's established one that says, hey, this is who we are. You're going to give us an input, but the institution itself is so steady and big that for as much as you can shake them, you won't do much harm. Good harm. In the case of Tucson, I think the willingness from the administrative part, from the musicians, from the audience, was to grow, to make this orchestra happen even more. And so that was a great quality, and that's something that means a lot to me. And we are for many things that we do, from that first season, but also recently when we did complete Beethoven cycle, you could tell that they want to experience new ways of doing music. They want to expand the repertoire, and they really it's a young orchestra, which is great. It has that youthful, but regardless the age, it's just that willingness of moving forward. So Tucson means always positive things. I think I'm in love with the town. I love the orchestra. I love the audience. I mean, it's that you conducted many times. They're so enthusiastic, but they mean it's not enthusiasm of here we are. We have to clap and we have to pretend. No, they're really, and they really, and they're very. I mean, gladly they're well educated in the sense of you have Tucson is a community that, because of a good weather, it's made of people coming from other places. So most of them were subscribers as the Palmers of the Cincinnati Symphony or the Chicago Symphony Cleveland and Philadelphia and here and there. And that, when you present music to these people, they know what they're listening to. So for one side, it's exciting to bring them also something new in which they would love to listen to. My first program in Tucson was Nielsen Symphony No. 2. It was never played in even though it's one of the well-known Nielsen ones, but it wasn't played. And the orchestra was immediately getting it, and the audience was like, oh, we want to hear more about this music, hear more about things that we don't know.
I just remember, when the TSO was going through the search, and then there was, many wonderful candidates, but just the chemistry that they had with you and everything that came about from your visit was just so wonderful. And it was just a marriage that was going to work. And I'm so happy to see so many of the wonderful projects that you've done, since your arrival in 2016. So 4 seasons with TSO so far, and then including the Beethoven cycle, and introducing new composers. What is your vision for the future season? So you've done 4 now. Say for the next 4 seasons coming up, what is your vision for the TSO?
Yeah, well, there's many layers to it. One that I think is on top is to make the orchestra to connect as much as possible with the community, to really make the Tucson part of the Tucson Symphony Orchestra resonate the best. And we're doing a great plan. We're putting a great plan into making this happen, because it's about time. You feel it's an orchestra that's being in the town for many years. It has a long history, 92 years. But I really think that it needs to finally resonate strongly, in the community, and the community wants it, because that's the power of music that connects, that makes you, like I was saying with the Sistema, gives you that sense of dignity. It helps you through hard times, like it happened now. How music is making people survive through the lockdown, and so making the Tucson Symphony Orchestra the orchestra of Tucson, the Symphony Orchestra of Tucson. That's the biggest plan that I would say it's on the table, and of course making it resonate in the whole music business of starting from the US and abroad. It's important. Try to find identity as well. It's an orchestra that already has some identity. I think some of our followers and your experience too knows that the orchestra has this wonderful Young Composers Project, and that's something that I was shocked from day one in a very good way, because that's incredible how an orchestra.
I love that project. Exactly. I love that project. Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing because it's nurturing kids into the composing, into the composing art. To compose music. You have kids playing an instrument, playing a piano, singing. But what about giving them the tools to start composing? And that's something that the orchestra has been doing, and so we're empowering that also a lot, and creating and having a long plan of developing that wonderful project into the future, and give that identity to the orchestra as well, because that connects with the community too. Because when you work with youth, that means that your art has an impact for the future, more than just making a good rendition of a Bruckner symphony, which is also a great thing to do. But
and then especially with orchestras in the US mainly, but a little bit more around in Europe too, but it's becoming an international sound, right? Because a lot of our musicians train both in Europe or in the US. And so in the past, give it like 40 years ago, you can really identify different orchestras for their own sound. And then now we've come to this sort of merging. I'm not going to say every orchestra sounds the same, because it doesn't, but like it's the challenge of the music director to find what the identity is of your own orchestra, and really championing that, spreading that message to as you said, resonate to the world, and especially the young composers project is one thing that I could say that Tucson is the only place that does it so successfully. And so it's wonderful, and I'm sure with your guidance and with your artistic vision, there's going to be more voice of TSO that gets, pushed out to the world. So I'm very excited.
We're very, very proud of it. And as a matter of fact, one project that we started since my first season was to invite back some of the kids that are now pursuing a career as composers that started at your courses and commissioning them in different, setups. We started with one with the full orchestra, another one with the chamber orchestra, another one with the orchestra and chorus, which was last year, and we already have concerto also, commissioned. So in order to show also the community and everybody that these kids actually are using the tools that we gave them to make a career, actually.
That's amazing. Several comments from our viewers saying that the chemistry on the first concert was amazing. Very lucky to have you as the TSO conductor. I totally agree. Yale has a fun question, which is, what favorite Tucson spot for food? Where do you like to go eat?
Yeah.
Where do you like to go?
Yeah, I have many. I told you that one place that I really like is Aubon. It's an Asian fusion restaurant downtown. I rented an apartment downtown, and I like walking. I drive, but I don't drive in Tucson. I think I kind of like the idea of making it walkable, which is possible. And there's many places in that downtown that has developed positively with a lot of good, interesting and good restaurants. Like Penca also is really good. What is the other one? Poca Cosa. Riley's.
I love Cafe Poca Cosa. Oh my gosh. It's my favorite place to go to.
And I think in Tucson they like to eat a lot, which is good. I like to eat.
It's good. So I'm going to shift the conversation to what the current issue, current affairs, and what's happening in our world today. So tell us how the Black Lives Matter means to you and how it influences your musical activities.
Yes, of course. Well, definitely, this is a matter of priority for humanity. Equality and equity, that everybody is the same, regardless race, sex, gender, anything. This is something that is on top of. It has to be on top of our head all the time. I mean, we shouldn't be saying, "Oh, I'm in my world. I don't want to know anything about it." So for us artists, actually, it's an opportunity to bring all of these voices out. And as you know, I'm from Latin America, you're from Japan, and we make music. The universality of music has to be empowered, and therefore, for Black Lives Matter, it's so important. And we did it, actually. It's one of those coincidences that we have included different aspects of Black composers. For instances, we did a work by George Walker, very famous one, the Little Suite, a couple of seasons ago. But we did this season Samuel Coleridge, Taylor Coleridge, the African Suite, and you may think, wow, this is unique that people are bringing this, but these composers were successful at their time, and they fought. I mean, in the case of Coleridge Taylor, he was raising his voice, but not only him, other composers did the same. Florence Price, I mean, William Grant, and we gotta bring that voices back. It's our job, not only because of what the turmoil that is happening now that is so unfortunate, but it has to be our priority to give the voice to everybody, and so that's something that for sure it's part of our mission as well. But not only for me and for the TSO, for everywhere in the world, and at the end, looking at things with perspective. I think after suffering, after turmoil, I think we gotta come with beauty, and music is able to do that. Music gives that beauty, and I think this is an opportunity to empower this, and because it's about time. It's about time.
It is about time, and it's responsibility, it's humility, it's courage to act with these newfound responsibility. And I look back at my time as a professional conductor in the U.S., and we've done so horribly throughout the country of featuring African American composers, and then the way we do it has been so bad because we always feature African American composers during the Black History Month, and it's only once a year in this one concert that you have, those composers, and it's you're kind of, that already is a very unreasonable thing to do when we can be sharing everyone's music throughout, right? So I'm trying to think of ideas of like figuring out how can we feature Black composers on almost every subscription concert, or there's a good balance of the European composers and the non-European composers. It's just an opportunity for us music directors and artistic leaders to understand what is happening in the world and what we can do to make it better.
Absolutely. There's a phrase that I saw the other day of Morgan Freeman saying, it's not Black History Month. Black history is American history too. So there shouldn't be, there is a tendency of cataloging certain things. It's about, but it's needed to remind everybody, it's like that we are all part of a big world. It's not, and that has no differences other than how we look, and that's it. I mean, we're all valid, all of us, coming from Europe or coming from America. Especially in my case, because as the North Americans, we come from this so-called New World, and the New World meant a mixture of races, and this is the best thing that happened, to that part of the world. But also we have to remember that there is people that were before the Europeans. There is the Native Americans, so that there's a big, also gap over there that we have to empower. Great composers also empower that. And if you listen to the music of Alberto Ginastera and Ballet La Estancia, he's using the theme about the gauchos, but he's using elements of rhythms that actually is a mixture between the African people that unfortunately and forcefully were brought to South America, but they mixed with the natives, and this, especially the music, was a result of this mixture. So we have to also remember that there is a center where everything came from, and we gotta also bring that out. And in that case, it's Native American music, for instance. In the case of the Americans, and there is many of opportunities for that too.
Most definitely. And so this is a good transition to go to the other social events and issues that we have. So performing music has become such a routine activity for us, for so many years. Performing for an audience is what, defines us as performers and artists. So then all of a sudden, because of this world crisis, performing in public has become extremely difficult. So my question to you is, how has your attitude towards music and performing for an audience changed because of this COVID-19?
Well, I would say it hasn't changed a bit. I think I have the same enthusiasm and the same willingness to devour, just to eat as much as music as possible and perform also. But it's true that one thing that it's obvious and it kind of shocked all of us is like we took many things for granted, and not having performances, it felt immediately like, okay, this is something strange, and not for us performers, because it's not a chauvinistic thing to say, oh, because I'm not able to perform, oh my God, my life doesn't have any meaning. No, it's also because this energy that happens, between performers and audience, and losing that was immediately in such a harsh way, was, I know, for many music lovers and many performers, very shocking because of this relationship, that has been.
Yeah.
But we gotta be also responsible that because of something so serious as an illness that is actually killing people, we gotta, we did what we did. But I think in my case, I look, I have the same love for music that I had before. I think you agree with me that the only feeling, okay, when is it happening now? Is the next concert happening? But we gotta also, think that music has been always present, and I think right now we're lucky also with technology that we're able to not only to have these setups as you're doing with conversations, but also we have easier access to music than many years before. So that's great, and it's a good opportunity for us performers to listen carefully. Many more music that we were maybe used to listen while we're working, because we don't have time.
Yeah, no, beautifully said, and it's so true. And we could only hope for, better situation and vaccines. And I'm talking to you from Japan right now, which the emergency has been lifted, and I'm actually conducting a concert next week in Tokyo without audience. But the following week, from July, we're introducing audience to the concerts, and we're doing, like, the concerts that I'm doing, and most of the professional orchestras in Japan are doing shorter concerts, but the orchestra's performing twice. So half of the audience comes in, listens to the music, and then they exit, and then the other half of the other 50% of the audience comes in, and it's a little bit tough for the orchestra, but then we've all had to reprogram our concerts so that it's doable in 1 hour, and then the orchestra can do it twice. But people have already bought tickets, right? So you can't really you can't pick and choose who can come. So in order for everyone to enjoy the music, and we want to perform for everyone, so that's starting in July, really in 2 weeks now. But it's that's
a model that I think it could be also successful for the future in a way of looking at the bright side of things. I think it's an opportunity to explore new ways of creating performances as well. Obviously, sometimes it will not be practical. It's not that you can do Mahler 7th at 2 p.m. and then at 7 p.m. do another Mahler 7th.
Exactly.
Yes, you can. But all the things, I think it might be an opportunity, and I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking about this, to explore this for the future in terms of also making a little bit of more of a music statement rather than just the traditional concert setup that everybody
most definitely. Yeah, wonderful. For our viewers, I want to share where you can always find Jose's activity, which is the Instagram page that he has. And one of the common denominator Jose and I have is the love for airplane. We always post photos of what we see from our airplane, from our seat. And we were talking about this earlier, how it's sort of a diary, right? Because we kind of look back and remember, oh yeah, that's the plane that we took, that was the trip. And Jose, there's so much to learn and see from just the window. There's the structure of the airplane is so beautiful. And I know you're a Star Alliance person. No,
No. I'm on One World.
You're a One World person, yeah.
And Sky Team, both of them. I used to be. I'm still in Star Alliance, but I don't have many privileges.
I'm a Star Alliance person, so.
I think what I loved always as a kid about the planes, and I always related to the music too, is that you have this kind of freedom somehow. It's a controlled freedom in a way, because you have music that has some rules that you're following but there is that aspect of interpretation that gives you freedom. I think also with flying, you have all these rules, and in your special commercial flying, you have rules, but the fact that your horizon is endless, this is incredible. Once you're in a cockpit and you see that sensation of never-ending horizon, that's how I feel also that music has that power too, that the options are so big and so personal that horizon is endless. So
yes,
it might be a little bit poetic, but and also and they're incredible machines. I mean,
they are incredible. And then I want to share you my favorite Airbus 380 because it's so beautiful. This one, that flight, it's on ANA.
Oh yes, Anna. Yes, Anna.
Yeah, it's such a great, and the double decker is the 380, and this plane is just so stable. It's amazing. The mechanics of this is just, when you're on it, you're just like, what? Yeah, it's a completely different world.
But it does take off. But that's also one thing that we have to remind ourselves. We have Mozart writing music so beautifully, and Beethoven creating that works of art, and we have engineers that are able to get us over there and 41,000 feet and move us so fast, and I think the capacity of the human being, it's incredible artistically, and beyond. And so we got to remember that also, talking about all these other things that we're able to do also in a wrong way. Let's always concentrate on that we should be using our great forces into something positive, and not to give a lecture, obviously, because we're all humans and we make mistakes too.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that.
Go ahead.
No, that's okay.
No. One of the questions that. One of the questions that when asked is, does the orchestra have social distance on stage? And to answer your question, when it is going to be socially distanced, and this week in Japan we've been doing a lot of projects with a couple of different orchestras on stage of how far can we social distance, and then how many people can we actually put on stage at different concert halls that we have. So I'll be posting photos on my social media soon, once we have we go through the different testing. So but it's, we're all finding different measures, and everyone's on one stand. We also put shields around to see if that works and stuff like that. But back to Jose, the last thing I want to say about how one of the things that I'm very excited about what you're doing, especially in the state of Arizona, is the fact that you're conducting the company that I was with for so long, which is the Arizona Opera. And this is wonderful. This is just so wonderful, because as a music director at Tucson Symphony, to be working with Arizona Opera. The company used to be in Tucson, and when I started with the company back in 2008, we used to be in Tucson. We used to rehearse in Tucson, and then the city of Phoenix built a building, so we moved to Phoenix. But I'm so excited that you're on the schedule for Arizona Opera next season, and that's wonderful. And just
they're invigorating. I think since a few years that there's a new leadership. There is I've seen what they're doing, and it's going in a very fantastic direction. They approach me and to doing a project together, and I say absolutely. Because we were talking about this before. In Southern Arizona, it's more than a desert. It's actually a place where art breathes a lot. You have symphony orchestra that has 92 years old. You have the Arizona Opera. You have a theater company that is incredibly fantastic. But you have also a fantastic university with the music school, like the University of Arizona. You have different groups of chamber music, chamber music, Friends of Chamber Music of Arizona. You have also great live music downtown, in this case, with different songwriters and great groups. There's one that is I actually want so much to do something with the Calexico. They're called famous in Tucson and won Grammys and so on. And so music and art, and the Museum of Art also downtown is fantastic museum. And so there is a lot of art happening in that part of the US, and it's been happening for so many years. So that's why I always say, when they ask me about the Tucson Symphony, I said somebody had a crazy idea of creating an orchestra 92 years ago, creating an orchestra in the middle of the desert, and they succeeded. So what are we? We gotta make this dream still happening, because somebody was actually a dreamer. Those were pioneers and really people that wanted to establish institutions that has. So the Arizona Opera, I think it has that vision and that mission as well. And I really love the fact of combining concerts together and finding common grounds and working together for the growth of the community, the artistic growth of the community.
Yeah, well, when we talk about musical family, this is a company that I was with from 2008 to 2015, and it's a company that really shaped my career as an opera conductor, and it's my musical family. I'm just so happy that you'll be working with them. And a member from the opera orchestra also who's watching right now is saying that they're excited too. So
looking forward very much.
It's gonna be great. Well, Jose, thank you so much for your time, and then I'm so glad that we can finally meet officially.
Yes,
digitally. but I really cherish this friendship that we have, and then I'm thankful for your time to share us about your activities, and especially about Arizona. And for our viewers, thank you so much for watching. I have this show every day right now going on, so please tune in anytime. So Jose, thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Kay, and go back to bed now.
I know, right? It's time to eat breakfast. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share this video. ありがとうございました。チャンネル登録、いいね、そしてこのビデオをぜひシェアしてください。